Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We're gonna go ahead and run our intro, and we'll be right back. All right, ladies, we are back. Yes, and I know I've been doing this all this time, and I still have the worst opening. I feel like known to man. I don't know. I can't get the right. Hey, I don't know. I'm gonna get it though. So, ladies, thanks for for joining me tonight. Hey, Lisa, thanks for sharing and always supporting. Um, Thank you, ladies, for your time. Thanks for joining me, participating. I truly appreciate it. So, at the top, all nice and smiling tonight, we have the wonderful Shanetta McNair.
Hello.
All right. Oh, we got two smiles going. All right. And I got on the bottom. Bottom, what's that? Right. Katrina Taylor.
Good evening.
Oh, look at this. Tonight we rolling good. All right.
Mm.
And Tangela wearing this awesome bright color. Today was nice and sunny, and you brought the sunshine with you. So we got Tangela Terrell.
Good evening. Good evening.
All right, ladies, I'm liking it. I am loving the energy. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you guys. So tonight our topic. Okay, so this topic kind of has like a lot of little, little caveats and spaces that you can go to. But the topic is, do we really want what we ask for? You know the saying that says, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. How many times in your life have you thought you wanted something? Or, back a million years ago when we were single, thought you wanted someone.
Uh-huh.
And, to get them or get into a relationship, like, that wasn't a good idea. Or, you think you want a certain job, you start working there, you're like, that was a bad idea. Um, I'm sure that that has happened to each and every one of us in one space or another in our life. So I said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about, do we really want the things that we ask for? Have we gotten to the age where we just stop asking for stuff? Like we just like, okay, listen, I've been at this job for 7 years. I'm gonna ride this one out to retirement. Have we got to the place where we just, or maybe you are truly content. It's like, you know what? This is life. This is what I got. This is what we're gonna do. Maybe you reached that stage. Maybe you've gotten to the point where you're just content. You're tired of asking. You're tired of waiting. You're tired of looking for something different. Um, and that still fits into the same space. So, do we really want what we ask for? Um, I'm gonna go first because do we really want what we ask for? So, you know, um, I guess the biggest thing as of late, that I've done, and I was like, what did I get myself into? Was kind of, getting remarried, and not about loving him because I love Anthony. That's the easy part. Like the easy part is loving him, but he has such great creative, expansive ideas, and I always seem to get sucked into these great creative expansive ideas and the work just piles and piles and it loads and sometimes I be thinking like all this time I wanted him to be this man, but did I really? Because now now it's a whole nother list
Yeah.
of things that I have to get used to. um us getting back together, yeah, he grew, but it's forced me to grow and stretch. And let's be honest, that's not always comfortable. Like, it's not always comfortable walking into new spaces. It's not always comfortable doing new stuff. And so every time I find myself doing something that he has envisioned or drugged me into, I always think, like, was this really what I wanted? So yeah, that's my do we really want what we asked for? And yeah, I think I wanted the man. I just didn't think about all that was coming with him this time. Like he found some extra stuff. Like he had all the old stuff, of who he is and the person I fell in love with and all that. But now he got all this extra creative stuff that he done brought with him this time. And sometimes it can be just a little bit much. Hey, Mother Nars, thanks for joining us. So ladies, share with us. Have you been in that space? Or right now? What's one of the top things in your mind, or is there a top thing on your want list? Trina.
Okay. I think you kind of hit on something I'm feeling when you said about just being tired of asking. So with regard to relationships, I'm just like, you know, kind of over it. Um, so I don't know. I don't know about that at all. But as far as career wise, I feel like I haven't reached that sweet spot to where I'm just like completely happy and settled. Because on the one hand, I got this part that I wanted, and I'm like, yeah. But then on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. These kids are crazy. You know. So I think sometimes I didn't consider everything about it. But I still kind of feel like there's a sweet spot that I haven't gotten to, where I'm just like totally content career wise. I don't know, maybe I'll never get that because I guess no matter what you do, there's going to be some aspect of it that you're just like, I like this part, but this little part, I could just not deal with any of it. So, I mean, there's the bottom line of what I want as far as I want to be um, kind of in control of my day.
Right.
I want to be able to, you know, say I want to do this. I don't want to be so controlled, micromanaged. You know what I mean? Like certain parts of how I want it to look. And it doesn't matter what career or what industry I'm in. I just know that I want my day to be controlled by me.
Right.
Um, so that's career wise. Relationship wise, I ain't even asking no more. If the Lord's gonna send me somebody, He gonna have to come hand deliver him, with the bright light and bed shaking and Jesus Himself. At this point, I'm not even asking no more. Just whatever, Lord.
Okay. That is definitely a fair assessment. Okay, Tangelo.
Yeah, I've been there, where you see something, but I guess that's kind of the kid in us, where where we see something and it looks all shiny and new, but then not wanting to go through the process. I remember my mom told me a story about one time when I was young, they took us to Disney World or somewhere, and we would get into a line and say we're going to ride the teacups. And while we were waiting, I would say, okay, oh no, I want to go ride on It's a Small World. So we'll get out of that line to get into another line, and then say, oh no, I want to go ride this. And so and I'll be honest, sometimes I find myself doing that now. And I think I don't think it's that we don't want what we ask for. I don't know if we're prepared to go through the process
Mhm.
of what to get what we see in our mind.
Right.
And a lot of times when we go after things, we look at the reward of it, but we don't look at the process. And when we hit the process, then it's kind of like, oh, never mind. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That process is definitely, that is where the rubber meets the road. That is really when you're like, was this really what I signed up for?
Right.
Yeah, that process always, more times than not, can tend to make you kind of have to take a deep breath or wipe those tears, or you know, whatever your coping process is for it. So I definitely agree with that. Shanetta, what you
I
got?
think just listening to you guys, it kind of reminds me of the cliche or statement about how the grass is not always greener on the other side.
Right.
And when you're looking at something from the distance, when you're looking at something from the far off view, it's like, oh yeah, it's like Tangela said, it's shiny, it's new, that's what I want. And then you go dive into it and it's like, but did I, that's not what I wanted. That's not how I envisioned this. It's not how I
Right.
saw this thing going at all.
Right. Right.
Um, I am I think I'm like a remorseful spender, I guess is what I would call it. And it's like I would go and say, okay, I want to get a new car. And we go shopping and we look for this new car. And then after you have it, you're like, oh yeah, this is the car I want. This is what I like. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go. Let's get this car. And all the deals, sound wonderful. And you sign the papers and sign your life away. You leave the dealership, and then a month later, you're like, I don't even like this car. It's not what I even wanted. I don't even like this car anymore. And I've definitely been in that position where I'm just like, why did we even do this? Why did we get this car? We could have, look at this car note. We could have just kept the one we had. We could have just got the car fixed that we had that was messing up. Like, do you really want that? I think I want it today, but tomorrow when I realize that I gotta pay this car note and the gas costs more in it because it's a bigger vehicle, no, I don't want this no more. The insurance costs more, whatever the case may be. Like I don't know. So I think we do get ourselves into situations sometimes where we kind of look back and what do they say? Hindsight is 2020.
Right.
Mhm.
And when you look back, you're just kind of like, yeah, I wanted this, but I didn't want all the things that came with it. I can remember when we were buying our house, more than anything in the world, I wanted to be a home owner. I wanted my house. I wanted my house to be mine. I was tired of renting, didn't want to rent any more properties. I was just ready to own my own home. And when I tell you that, well, I wanted that, when we went through the process and we had some very unusual circumstances, and going through that process, I was just like, I remember one particular day, I told my husband, I was like, it's okay. Forget it. We can quit. We don't have to do any of this. We can just rent houses forever and ever. I know people that do that. And it's okay. We don't have to do any of this. This is way more than I bargained for. Like,
Right.
I really want it, but I don't know that I want it this bad. It was so difficult. It was so much. But at the end of the day, when we closed, and the day that we closed, like, I think if you've ever bought a house before, you know that closing dates can get pushed and pushed and pushed. And they say, oh, we're going to close on Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, they're like, oh, yeah, no, we can't close today. We're going to close on Friday. And then you're like, but I took off for Tuesday because you told me Tuesday. I can't take off on Friday. So I had situations like that where I had taken a week off because we were supposed to close on one day and pack, move in, get settled in the house, and then I was going to go back to work. And they pushed us back like a whole week. I was out of time. I couldn't take off anymore. And so I was just like, I don't want any of this. Forget it. Leave the whole thing alone. I was so ready to quit. But it was what I really wanted. So I had to kind of keep going through that process. But afterwards, it was like, okay, you know what? This was all worth it. So sometimes I think you go through the process and you're like, none of that was worth it at all. Like, I could have done without that altogether. And then there are other things you go through the process and you're like, during the process, you're like, I don't really think I want this anymore. But then it's like worth it in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Lisa said, being patient and enjoying the process is exactly what God is dealing with me on, no matter how long it's taken. Lisa, listen, that how long,
Mm.
because that be my
So,
thing. Lord, how long? If you just tell me, like, God was like, okay, you gonna have to deal with this for 6 years, right? In your mind, okay, 6 years is a long time, but I see the end in sight,
Right.
though. I think knowing when I'm gonna get there, I'm good with. Like when you driving and you going somewhere, and you be like, how much longer? Oh, 3 hours. Now you're like, okay, I can survive this for 3 more hours. But they're like, oh, I don't know when we gonna get there. You like, what? Like, what do you mean you don't know? So yeah, that being patient and enjoying the process, that is a hard lesson sometimes. Um, and on the flip side of it though, like that's the lesson you need. Like learning that lesson in the process will make receiving what you want that much better. And I hate that I just said that because like sometimes you don't realize what you say until it rolls out your mouth. That was definitely one of those. I'm feeling some kind of way about
Was
that.
speaking to you. It was giving, it was, speaking to your spirit and your soul. You gotta take that lesson. And so how the preachers say that the message always hits the preacher before he's able to give it to the people. It's hitting you. It's just it's coming to you. You gotta receive it.
But I think the reality is all of us are waiting on something. All of us are in some stage of a process. And God kind of reminds me of like the old school cooks. Like I asked my mom, how do you make a sweet potato pie? She couldn't give me definite. I'm looking for step one, step two, step three, put it in this long, put this amount. And she was like, well, you're going to have to kind of eyeball it, put some sugar in and put some of this in. And it's like God isn't operating on our time schedule. Like, his time, like, I don't even, there is no, I think time is for us. And I think he looks at, when you're done, when you're done, if that takes you 6 days or 6 years, now it's time to move on. But I think the growth comes in that process. It's just so I don't know. It's like, going through labor.
Yeah.
You want the baby, but it's like I have to go through all of this. When I was in labor for about 23 hours with Zeta. And after a while, I was just like, I don't want to do this no more. I don't know how we're gonna fix this, but I can't do this. I'm exhausted. I don't have the strength. I don't know what else to do. But as soon as you see her face and you hear her cry, then it's like, oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
this moment is what all of that was for.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely can relate to that one because I think that that's like the process of laboring and the process of having your children is just kind of like for lack of better words, it's not a fun experience. It's it's not a day in the park at all. Anybody who says it is probably lying to you.
Contrary to what you see on TV, because that's
Right.
another thing when we're looking at how quote unquote easy some other people may have it. We automatically think that if I don't have it that easy, then I did something wrong.
Right.
Or I'm not in the will of God if I have a struggle. But that may be, your body, that may be your
Yeah.
baby. And we had to go through it and not, try to compare our path or process with anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Yeah.
you see these there's a meme I keep seeing about it's like point A to B, and B is a success. And you think it's going to be a straight line, but it's up and down and all around. And sometimes when you're on the down, you don't think or you don't know when you're going to go back up or how you're going to get all the way to the B. And it's frustrating. But, you envision that straight line from here to there. Oh, I'm just going to get in. We gonna go ahead and success. But that up and down, sometimes you're like, wait now, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It can
Yeah.
throw you off
Mhm.
in the process of like, well, I thought I asked for this, so why is it taking me around the mulberry bush to get to that? Like, I don't understand this process. So it's hard sometimes to see the light at the end of that tunnel when you know that this is the landing place. How come I'm not getting there
Right.
as quick as that person got there? Or even what was the motivation behind what you really wanted or what you thought you wanted? Did you want this because everybody else had it, or did you want this because it was something that was truly, in your heart's desire for you to have? What's your motivation? Because
Right.
I think when you don't have the proper motivation, that
That's
also makes the process more
Harder.
difficult, and not even knowing if you'll actually make it through that process because of the motivation behind what you wanted or what you said you wanted.
I definitely think the motive behind what we ask for makes a difference. I think sometimes it's part of why the process takes too long
Mm-hmm.
because we want it for the wrong reasons. You
Mm-hmm.
know, sometimes we get caught up in you want something because somebody else has it, or you want it so you can show them I could do it better. You know, or like sometimes because we're all human, we get all these human things going on in our head, and I feel like sometimes that's where the process gets longer because it's like I can't give you this yet. Like you're not ready. Like you're not ready for this. There's some other stuff. Like I need to grow you up first in some other areas.
Yes.
Like I can honestly say like some of the things. Hey, Gwendy, thanks for joining us. Some of the things that I thought, like, okay, so I'm weird in the sense that you're a part of, let's just say, church. You're a part of a ministry. You do things or whatever. I'm the person that's gonna ask for something that's gonna put me way in the back. Like if I could be in the back, I'll be the last one. I'm gonna push everybody else really hard. Like just put me way in the back. So like, I found myself asking for things that will put me on the outside. You know what I'm saying? Like that make it so I might be essential. My function might be essential, but essentially you don't need me in the forefront. And I ask for stuff like that. And sometimes I don't know. I think that maybe when I was praying, like it got jumbled when it came out because like it always seems like it always comes the opposite way. Like I'm asking for one thing, but somehow it just don't really come out the way that I anticipated. And I have to constantly remind myself, sometimes to no avail because I still be like, that it's not just about what I want.
So,
Like,
Sam, I was about to ask that. What do you do when what you want conflicts with what God wants for you?
Mm.
you mean me personally?
It's a general question, but when you mention that, because I think sometimes we fall into what's comfortable for us,
Right,
but I think God sees His intent
right.
when He created us, and I don't think His intent was for anyone to remain in their comfort zone. So at some point there will be that conflict with what I want and what God wants for me.
Absolutely.
So how do you transition those desires?
I will say honestly, it's that is still in the process thing that happens. I feel like with every um new season, like the process is different for me in the sense that like before I'm just like yeah I don't not gonna happen, this just ain't going. All right, fine, I'll do it. But but I'm not. I'll do just enough that I'm not totally disobedient. I did it. Like I'm just being honest. Like in times past, that's kind of like how I felt. Like, well, I did it.
Mm.
You said I wasn't disobedient. I did it. But as seasons pass and as I grow in my thinking, I've gotten better with it. I may have to take a deep breath sometimes. So I'll be like, this is way more than I asked for. But I'm like, I know somewhere this is gonna turn around for my good. And then for me, on the flip side, like, when I be praying for something else, I be like, God, remember, I've been being obedient. I've been doing.
Just enough of obedience, Lord.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, I've been doing what you asked me to do. I've been doing exactly what you asked me to do. And I'm even smiling a little bit when I do it. I'm like that, that's how I feel. So like for me, it's been an evolution of, pouting and then unpouting and so
Amen.
I feel like I want to go back a little bit to something that Tangela just said though, because I think I have a question. Like, are are we saying that God won't allow us to stay in a comfort zone? Because that kind of makes me feel like I'm gonna get blindsided in a couple of days, and I just don't like that feeling.
Well,
Like I'm very comfortable with comfort zones, so like,
I don't, and this is just my personal, philosophy. I don't have Bible for it. So, unless Bishop Payton say otherwise, no need to fret. But I think for me, I get very content where I am.
mm-hmm.
But in that contentment, I also find that there's stagnation, and I know, there's a saying, bloom where you're planted. Sometimes you can be in a position like I've been on my job, August to be 20 years. And there was one position that I was in a role for like 9 years, but I know that I was years beyond, I stayed in there years longer than I should have, because I started to, I was just miserable in that particular role. But I think I stayed there because it was easy. The job was easy. The hours was easy. It don't bother me. I won't bother you. But it wasn't until I started to challenge myself to purposefully put myself in a position where I was completely uncomfortable, completely insecure. And that's when I started seeing the most results. And it's weird because I'm probably one of the most, let me stay in my cozy blanket, with my fuzzy socks. But now I'm out here in the cold with no coat on. But when I navigate through, once I started to, like, if we're talking career wise, when I started to go after things that I knew I was not necessarily quote unquote qualified for, that's when I started excelling. I started getting my highest reviews, I started getting recognized for my performance. And I think that I was selling myself short. And I know that I'm probably not the only one. And a lot of times we probably are comfortable because we are probably living beneath our potential. And to get more, we would have to do more, and we would have to become more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of has been my experience.
I would definitely agree with you on that. Career wise, I would definitely say the same. Like there are times in my career over the years where I have challenged myself to do something more, to go a little bit further and to try something else. And even when I can remember one particular time I applied for a particular job, I want to say 9 times before I got the job. And it was like every time I didn't get the job, it was like motivation for me to come back and try again.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you're not getting rid of me. Like to the point where when I got the job, I don't know if they were tired of me or if they were really like, okay, she really is qualified for this. But it was like a challenge for me. So it did keep me pushing. But then I think over the years, like where I am now, career wise, I'm very comfortable to the point where when people come to me and ask me to do something more, I look at them like, do you not know that I'm here to not do the more? Like I'm here to but I can't, like, why would you ask me that? Like, why? We got a new principal at our school, and my lead they were having these one-on-one meetings with her. People like were introducing themselves and trying to get to know her. And they were like, "Hey, did you go and have your one-on-one meeting with the principal?" And I was like, "Why? What for?" And they were like, "To get to know her, so you can get into one of the leadership roles eventually." And I was like, "I don't want to do that. Why would you all think I wanted to do that?" And she was like, "Well, I mentioned you in my meeting because I think you would make a really good, teacher leader." And I was like, "What did you do that for? Have you met me?" She was like, "No, we really think you would do good in like a leadership role." And I was like, "But I don't want a leadership role. So I don't know why you people keep saying this to me." And like it was kind of like a process of like 3 or 4 people and I was just like, "Hey guys, I'm super comfortable. I just want to come to work. I want to teach my kiddos and I want to go home. I don't want anything else." But I know for me, like I had found myself in this place of the warm and fuzzy. Like I got my warm and fuzzy blanket. This makes me happy. I can do this. I'm comfortable. Leave me alone. Don't try to take my blanket and make me cold. And that's kind of where I've definitely been. I still haven't fully accepted. I did agree to go to a little summer program and get a new endorsement, but that's as far as it goes right now. Like I'll get the endorsement this summer, but I don't know anything else beyond that.
That's a pinky toe outside the comfort zone.
Right?
I was going through.
I
I took on a project at work. Matter of fact, I was texting E from the day. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. It's just it's too much. It's too uncertain. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the guidance that I need. But I know I'm gonna stick it out. And then the odd thing is that once I come out of it, I'm gonna look back and see the benefits of going through it. It's usually the things that you don't want to do that gives you the best results and gives you the best outcome. I think it might have been Mel Robbins who said that you will be successful if you do the things that you don't want to do. If those things that your flesh says, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to do that. That's usually where the gold is.
Yeah,
Um, I don't
definitely
really
get
know
out there.
if like when it comes to comfort, like I sort of have a comfort zone, but I like to challenge myself. So like that always leads me somewhere that I turn around and like, how do I constantly get into these situations? Because I like the challenge. I like to learn different stuff. I like for me, if I do something and it's like mediocre or like average, I'm like, oh no, we could do way better than this. Like, we need to get it together, Sam, because we're better than this. So, like, because I like to challenge myself, it always turns out, I'm not going to say it turns out bad, but it definitely always puts me in a position where I'm like, how did you not see that 3 rights was gonna land you right back to where you started? Like I find myself in that position a lot. So I don't know if I really live like in a comfort zone so much as my brain one side wants is looking for comfort and the other side is trying to crush the competition, like just
That's how you end up where you are. Crush
right.
the
I know
competition.
it's a lot happening. It'd be a lot happening, and I miss it. I miss it, and it's like I open my eyes and like, dang it, like how do I wind up here again? Like I keep doing this. So yeah, I'm always especially kids. I think especially since I've had the kids, and like and now, now that they're teenagers, like when they look at me and like, oh, mom, you did that? That's great. I was like, yeah, I did that. Like, know. So like I'm always, especially now, looking for, more stuff so they can be like, oh yeah, my mom was awesome. She did it all. Like
Right.
even though in my mind I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but like
That makes
I'm always,
perfect sense to me. I understand.
yeah, I'm always looking for stuff, that they can like, okay, mom, I know you did all this, but guess what? I'm better. I did this too. like I want it to be like a challenge for them, especially for my daughter more so. Like I want you to push yourself. Don't just because she's like, oh, I don't like math. So she go to math and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so like that's her attitude. Well, I don't like it, so like so I don't have to do well at it. I said no, that's the one thing you need to do well at. Don't let
Right.
math beat you. I'm like, girl, like you get A's everywhere else, so you can do it everywhere else. You can do it in math. I'm like,
Absolutely.
don't let it beat you. So I'm constantly trying to show her an example of always challenging yourself and not just telling her, which of course always winds me up in an interesting place.
You got to meet the challenge. You got to let her know this is how we do it. This is how we hold our ground when something is hard, when something is difficult. This is how you go through that process. This is how you get from point A to point B, or maybe E.
Could be E. Could be E. Yep.
You're going through all these, winding roads and twisting roads, and things are not going precisely how you planned them. But this is how you hold on when you said this was the goal. This is what I asked for. I was talking to my daughter. She probably won't even see this, so I can talk about her a little bit. Um, I was talking to her about one of her classes. She's in college, and a lot of times I think kids compare themselves to what their parents did or what their older siblings did or that kind of stuff. And for me, my undergraduate, I completed in 3 years. Versus both of my sisters completed undergrad, it took them 5 years. So there's always that conversation that I have with anybody going to college is that for some people it may take 3. The average they say it's 4. Some people it might take them a little bit longer. And that's okay. Um, so I was talking to my daughter and she was telling me how she didn't pass a class previously and she took it again and she still doesn't feel like she's doing so good in it. And she's like, this is just so hard. And I was like, well, listen, hey, I failed a class my first year. I think I expect every college student, unless you're just like, I think every kid kind of gets that culture shock. And sometimes that first year, some classes in that first year just shake you a little bit. So I'm like, hey, it's okay. You failed it. You just retake it. You make sure you get a tutor. Make sure, you take it the way you need to take it. Because like now they're offering classes online and mini mester classes and all this kind of stuff. Hey, you may not need the mini mester. You need the long mester. You need to have a tutor. You need to have help.
Not the
You need to
wrong
make sure
person.
you get what you need for this class because you can't compare yourself to anybody else. Your process may very well be different, and that's okay. And she was like, "But I have a plan, and I have." She goes off the deep end real fast too, and she's like, "I have this plan."
I
She's my
wonder
child.
why.
She's mine. She belongs to me.
Right.
But she's like already off the deep end. And I'm like, girl, all you gotta do is take a summer class. You're gonna be okay. Just, go through the process. You got it. You got this. And she's like, but mom, I've already cried and I did this. And I'm like, girl, you're gonna be just fine. But
Poor
the
baby.
process, the point, getting from point A to point B, she's like already mapping it out. And in her mind, this process ends in May of 2024. She must be done. And if she's not done by May 2024, Houston, we have a problem. And I'm like, girl, you have no idea. You'll be okay.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's really important sometimes. Like when you watch the Olympics, like the Olympic runners, like they be running and they just focus straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever's going on the side of them, they don't look to see who catching up. All they see, I imagine, is the finish line. Like they all they see is that rope they trying to get to. And I think sometimes with um, all that we're desiring, all that we're working for, all that we're trying to establish for ourselves, sometimes, you know, our head turns to the right or our head turns to the
Yeah.
left. And our focus shifts. And unfortunately, where your head goes, your body will go. So,
Mhm.
if you're going to the left, if you're constantly looking to see what Sister Hickababoo is doing,
Mm-hmm.
Come on, boo.
listen, that was for Trina. That
I
was for
love
Trina.
it.
And if you're constantly focused on the person next to you, or the chick at work that just keep getting promotions and all of this, it's hard to run your own race.
Hmm.
It's hard to focus on your destination. So I don't know if it's, like Tangela said, I don't know if it's really about wanting, not really wanting what we ask for. I think it's sometimes just not staying focused,
That's it.
from inception to completion.
Right.
Because it's easy to ask, like, if you throw a ball up, the ball gotta come back down. But asking is not that simple. It's not just, okay, I asked and I'm gonna stand here and wait till it drops. It's not that simple. A lot of times there's work that has to be done. There's things that you have to do. There's positions and places that you have to be in so that you can receive all the things you're asking for. And I think sometimes we don't count up the costs. We don't count up what's gonna come along with what we're asking for. We just listen. I want it. I want this, and we don't think about, the long nights that may be incurred in it, the tears that may come. Tears of frustration, tears of I don't like you said, Tim. I don't want to do this no more.
Mm-mm.
I just want to take my ball and go home. I don't want to play no more. We all have those moments, but I think it's important to try to stay as focused as possible and remind yourself why you want it. Why do I want this?
Yeah.
Why did I even ask for this
In the
in the
first.
first place? Right.
Yeah.
Reminding yourself of the why, and then of who's watching you. Who heard you say this is what you want?
Mm-hmm.
Who's watching you now be defeated or give up or turn around? Because that's what I think about. My kids hear me say I want to do something, and they're like, "Well, mommy, I thought you said you was gonna." I am. I'm doing it. Like, they always reminding me, like, we watching. We watching. So when I get it, they're like, okay, you did that. Yes, I did it. I did it. See, I said I was gonna do it, and I do it. So it's important, especially for us, to have children, no matter how old they are. 'Cause, no matter how old you are, you still, when you're around your mom, you still watch your mom. I still watch my mom do stuff to this day, and I'm well over the age of adulting. Like they're always watching us. They're always looking for them silent confirmations or that silent guidance. I think all children look for that at one point or another. So, ladies, any final words? No.
I think tonight's topic was super encouraging. What I'm
Yes.
walking away with is that sometimes I must get pushed out of my comfort zone and stick that pinky toe out from up under my warm and fuzzy blanket. And I might do it, I might not. I don't know. Pray for me. But I think tonight's topic was really good.
Absolutely.
Great.
And I think my takeaway is not being intimidated by the process,
Right.
and what the goals that I've set for a purpose,
Right.
and I'm not gonna throw in a towel. I'm gonna hold on to it a little while longer. I agree, Shanetta. This was a really encouraging topic tonight.
Yeah.
Great.
Definitely. I agree.
I didn't know if you was gonna say something. That's why I was just I was trying to wait. Yeah, for me the takeaway is stay focused.
Mm.
I'm just trying to stay focused, and not even for me. It's not even so much about what I want at right now. It's staying focused on all the things that are currently in my hand. Um, like it's a million things right now that I'm already holding on to. So I need to stay focused and handle those things responsibly before I can even think about trying to move on to something else. So being patient and enjoying the process is exactly what God is dealing with me on. Oh, I think that I read that. Okay, I thought there was another. Oh, okay. Great conversation. I'm sorry, Lisa. Thanks, Lisa. We appreciate you always joining us. We are on typically on Tuesday as of May. Hold on, because I don't know the date. As of the first week of May, which will be May 5th, we will be doing the show on Thursdays. Lisa said her takeaway was be prepared for what I'm praying for. Absolutely, you have to be prepared to receive it. We are going to be moving to Thursdays. Now that the world is not trying to attack us anymore, and outside is playing nice, you know, things are changing, schedules is changing, and things are happening. So Tuesday nights, unfortunately, although they have been good to us, we will be moving to Thursday nights. So in May 5th will be our first show for May, and from that point on out, we'll be on at Thursdays at 8 p.m. We're even going to come on half an hour early. So please keep that in mind. We'll be announcing it every week up until that point. Um, Thank you guys so much for watching, for commenting, for all your support. Until next Tuesday, our hope is that you stay safe.